Cowgirl up.
Hello, hello, hello.
How y'all doing tonight?
It's good to be here. I'm so excited. This is the power team.
Look at
Woohoo!
you in your cute hat. Woohoo!
Look cute out with my headphones.
Thank y'all for coming over for a little chit chat around the round table tonight. I know we were just recapping the week and we really didn't have a show planned for this evening, so I said let's do a pop-up show and kind of recap everything that's happened this week because man, y'all have been on fire. I've seen some great shows out there. We just got off with the Freedom Fridays. I always loved that. That was a good one, Power Girl.
Oh man, it's always a blast with Brock Maddox. You know that. He always brings the heat. He definitely did this Friday. Bringing Annie, Wisconsin Annie, my favorite freedom fighter. We feature freedom fighters on Freedom Friday, and we are really honing it in. We're getting it down now to where we're just featuring one freedom fighter at a time. That was by suggestion of our queen of the chat, Agnes, and I think it was a great suggestion. So we're gonna run with that, and we started that this last Friday, and we got to spend the whole hour with Annie, and man, she is just packed full of information. She was talking all about the state's assembly and talking about national-assembly.net, where we're trying to assist the government, I'm sorry, trying to assist the military in the progression of creating this the new, not their new normal that they're trying to usher in, but our new world. And Annie's suggesting that we do it through this national-assembly.net. I don't know very much about it, but if you'll let me, I'd love to read this intro because I think it's very, it's an intriguing idea. It's definitely an out of the box idea. I think that this makes a lot of sense considering how off the rails and criminal the government has become, and it's our dirty, it is a dirty job. It's a very dirty job.
Yes,
it's our duty to hold this criminal government to account. So if you go to national-assembly.net, the homepage says Donald Trump told the American people we will have a new government controlled by the people, and you just found it. And I can say I have been looking for a very long time, and this is the first organization that I've got faith that it could possibly be a viable option. It says, how many have figured it out yet that Trump was the last president of the 1871 contracted United States corporation? The United States is dissolved and being dismantled before your eyes. This is what I see. DC is empty. We have control over the military. We have a new government in interim. And Donald Trump told all Americans we will have a new government controlled by the people. We are it. We need you involved. The sooner we have the states assembled, the sooner this show will end and we can return to a better life than we had before. And so than we've ever had before, because, like we talk about on Freedom Friday, this is all a sham. This whole thing is a big shit sham show. And, it was never really meant to succeed. So, our Constitution was stolen. We've talked about that as well. The Civil War is not what we thought it was. We've been hijacked. Our sovereignty and our, our inheritance has been hijacked. So this is what Wisconsin Annie is looking into, and I'm going to look into it myself. There's some conference calls we can participate in. So I would, recommend, I'll put that in the chat, the website for that, because we're trying to assemble these states. And I think it's 35. We need 35 to assemble. So, we know we got to get active. We talk about getting off the couch all the time. The hard thing, right, Amber, is figuring out which way to go. Like, what do we do with our time? Where is our time best spent? Wouldn't you say it's really hard? I mean, you got it dialed in because, girl, you have been tearing it up for the last 2 weeks since I saw you in Liberty Cowgirl, which was an amazing interview, by the way. Or just, I think you guys were just chit-chatting then, but you really dove right into Liberty Cowgirl, and I learned more about her than I have in the 6 or 8 weeks I've been hanging out with her. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
And then so many great interviews. The doctor, you had the good doctor on talking about the things that, I don't know, for you can't really talk about on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Childhood.
That's powerful. That was powerful for me because we got really good news. Can I say this? Liberty Cowgirl, we got really good news in California. I think it was this morning that I was reading that California, somebody sued. I'm not sure who was sued, but basically they have put a huge kibosh on the mandatory vaccines for kids in California. That's a huge, yes, I just heard that this morning. What? I have to confirm. I'm still trying to find the original. Like you said, Amber, on one of your shows, the information that passed through our desk, right? It's like a fire hose. So, but yeah, that's a huge win. Huge sign of the times. I keep telling people, you better get on board the peace and unity train because, like Liberty Cowgirl said, talking to you, sides are being made. You're either good or, this is good versus evil. This is history. Are you on the right side of history? Because not everybody is. Some people are still pushing masks.
Yeah.
So pick a lane.
If anyone wants to learn more about why Power Girl is so excited about this, go to my Rumble channel or my website, theambermayshow.com, or go to the Rumble channel at The Amber May Show. Go get the Dr. Meehan videos. It's part 1 and 2. We break it down why this is such a good win while America wins, because we have all of us have been Buffalo. Now I'm working. I think my son's been vaccine injured. I think I've been vaccine injured. Not like we're working through the process of trying to heal our bodies because we have been given a bill that's not a good bill. Like we have been all dealt this whole thing that's just, it's not what it appears to be.
One of the good things that the good doctor said that's really stuck out for me, Amber, if you don't mind, is the way he said the well baby check is a sham.
It is.
It's a total scam. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for you to, how many, and you're right. I mean, my daughter's 30. She's about to turn 33 in tomorrow. Tomorrow. And, they're doing twice as many as when she was vaccinated now. So, and I do think there's some injury. It's weird when, baby is one way and then they come home from a vaccine. She did have a very bad reaction to one of the vaccines. So, it's pretty scary. It is. And I love what he said, that it's just a scam. And because that's what I've been saying about pharma for many, many years. I've been in the natural, a vibrant living community for a very long time because my doctor was never around. He was always on vacation during flu season. So I always had to figure things out. Yeah, it was actually kind of a blessing because I grew up not needing a doctor.
Young Living got me on the track to want to look at more natural things. And I started getting rid of all of the, what is it called? Like personal care items. I started going more natural with those and then using the essential oils to treat a lot of the things. And it really opened my eyes because then when Dr. Meehan was speaking, it was like I was understanding him. He was understanding me. I was already involved in the environmental working group. I'm already familiar with them. I look at products based on what their recommendations are. And so we go to really natural products. And my daughter asked me if she could use Dove shampoo for the first time. She asked me for something other than this natural stuff I give her. And I said, you know what? I don't mind once in a while. You can try it out. But I'm telling you, I don't want this stuff to go on your body because it disrupts our hormones. And I don't want that for you. So I already bought into the whole childhood wellness checks. I already bought into that. And I look back on my son, on both of them. And I'm just so sick. At 3 months old, my kids got seven of these at 3 months old at one going. And I don't think us as parents understand how many they're getting at once. Because if we would have seen 7 vials, we would have said, hell no, you're not going to do that to my 3-month-old child who has no immune system whatsoever.
Okay, well, listen, I saw them. I was there. And, there were times we're thinking we're working within an honest system. These things were meant for good.
That's right.
We were conditioned like this. We need them for school. I do have a list, and I wanted, when we do a Rumble exclusive show, which we're going to start doing, by the way, to kind of phase off this YouTube. But the number of these things, I don't want to say the word, compared to when we were kids, compared to what they are now, the list is much longer. Okay.
74
And
No,
there was
now.
one
twice.
year,
That's not.
yeah, there was one year, and again, my kids are young adults. They're out of school now, thank God. Because if I had children in school right now, there's no doubt in my mind I would have had to have bail money at least a few times by now.
Yes, right?
Uh, but they're young adults now, and I worry about the effects of all of those required uh, these, because in their high school year they came out with about 3 or 4 of them,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I thought that was, it crossed my mind, but I didn't do anything about it. But it did cross my mind. Wow, that's an awful lot
Mm-hmm.
of shots that suddenly they need.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they will not let your children go to school without these shots. So basically, you don't have a choice if you're a parent and your child is in public school. There is no choice. So yeah, the veil's been pulled over all of this. Here's what the American public wants to see at this point: accountability. There's been no accountability, and until we see that, then it's really non-compliance, because everybody's educated by now. We know what type of operation this is. It took a lot of people, and still a lot of people don't get it. They're going to line up, they're going to keep lining up, and there's nothing you can do about that, because in the end it is a personal choice. The
Mm-hmm.
information is out there, and they've chosen not to adhere to it.
Yeah,
you
they
know you
actively avoid it. Has been my experience.
Right. It's a personal choice. What are you
Yeah.
going to tell people at this point? But nonetheless, we know what's happened. There's back channel stories on how certain people from big pharmaceutical companies were taken into custody. I myself have even reported on a couple of those instances. If you go to Liberty Cowgirl Network and go back a few videos, and you know, well, we're watching this play out like everybody else, but there has to be accountability, because that's what everybody's problem is right now,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and everybody's frustration. There is
Mm-hmm.
no accountability. We see all these things taking place. Everybody can clearly see what's happening now. And I'm not saying 100%, we know that's never going to happen, but the large majority, we're 2.5 years, 3 years into this now,
Right.
and still there hasn't been that public unveiling, and not everybody's going to watch the comms. Not everybody's sophisticated to be doing all the decodes. Listen, I find the best decoders out there. I listen to what they have to say and I store it. I mean, what else are you going to do? There's no confirming that. There's no confirming that. But we know the comms are out there. We can see, some say, and I've heard more than the general mentioned this on my show. We might be in World War III and not realize it.
Oh, we
How many
are.
top generals, people of military intelligence, he's not the
Mm-hmm.
first one I heard say that, nor will he be the last,
Mm-hmm.
because that's exactly what's taking place. And as time goes on, we're seeing more and more of this, because it's hitting close in our neighborhoods, and in some
Mm-hmm.
states, it's worse than others. And we know what states
Mm-hmm.
those are, because they all are supposed to, and not by choice. I might add, not by choice.
Not
Yeah,
by
Um,
choice.
absolutely. I mean, listen, California, I haven't felt like my votes counted for ever. I mean,
They
for a
haven't.
long time.
They haven't. And
I
they've
have
been,
I've had boots on the ground talking to me forever. I mean, even the GMO situation. This has just been going on in California. So I tell everybody we're behind enemy lines in California. We are in World War III and have been. I tell everyone
mm-hmm.
as a PG first
mhm,
responder, the new normal started for me with that first quote unquote wildfire, and my life has been turned upside down. So anybody who has not had their life turned upside down and is not feeling this war should consider themselves blessed, because most of my friends have lost everything, and that's because they're fighting this tyranny. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it, like I say, even if it's just showing up to these live streams and getting the information, because what I've seen since I've woken up in 2014 is that people do genuinely, or at least not so much anymore, because the Great Awakening, I've had the glory, the absolute glory that God has given me to see it unfold, and it's been amazing to watch. So I mean, it just showing up and making yourself aware of where we are on the timeline, because it is trauma, and it is
Mhm.
waking up to cognitive dissonance, and
Mhm.
waking up to the idea that your whole life is not at all what you thought it was, and you were lied
Right.
to about everything. So that's huge. I
Right.
heard you say it, Liberty, when you were talking to Amber on her show, that we need to have grace for people. We need to understand that these are not easy things. I will not be impatient with people. I will not put them down because they
Mhm.
don't get it. Why can't they just get it? Well, because they've been lied to.
The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, was freaking real about the reality that we're living in. And I
Well,
know the
didn't
the
you
creator.
interview that guy?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's a friend of mine. We text a lot, and he's yeah, he's great. And the Lord gave him actually that movie. And he got like this vision, and he just started writing things down like crazy. And when he did not accept the Hollywood, the sex trafficking ring of Hollywood, they took everything from him, including his movie, and they have gone after him ever since. So yeah, so it was kind of a prophetic movie, I guess, in a way, but it was real. It was
I feel
telling
like I'm
everybody.
living it every day, man. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what.
Here's an
Well,
idea for you, Power Girl. So yes, your idea is probably really great, and we should probably learn more about that. But a very simple way we can get involved and take our country back, and like Liberty Cowgirl said, hold people accountable, going down the state legislature. There's no
Yes.
other better way to do that. And none of us go down there on a regular basis because, oh, we already hired someone to do that for us, called our state legislators. But how do you keep them? I've witnessed so much stuff going down there recently, and it makes me sick. I am so sick by the politics that I've seen, and it won't change until you and I get involved and put their feet to the fire and say, what are you doing? So what I noticed, okay, what I've noticed going down to the Capitol, I haven't been down there like that much. So don't think like, oh my gosh, Amber May's like down there all the time. No, I went down there once last session to speak on a bill, and now I've introduced a bill. Like I'm doing the thing right now. I'm living out. I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill, but it's so much more than that. And I'm in committee, and I'm seeing what they're doing, and it's so politically driven. The Democrats, we in what I've seen, now I'm not saying it doesn't ever like it can't happen another way, but the witnesses I've had, and I can only speak to what I've seen. I was in committee because my bill is going to be heard in committee. Well, it was, but I'm sitting in committee listening to all these bills. And these are really good bills that are going to protect people, protect your constitutional rights. And the Democrats, all of them in the committee, voted no on all of them. Why? Because the person sponsoring didn't have a D next to their name. As a state legislator, I feel like you should take that DNR off your name when you enter the legislative doors, because you've just put on a whole nother mantle. And that's because you become the most powerful branch in all of the United States. The state legislators hold the most amount of power. Why? Because they are supposed to work for you and me, because you and me, you and I, we are the government. We tell them what to do. They don't tell us what to do. We tell them what to do. They don't tell us what to do. So they are the most powerful branch of the government, but they are playing politics and they don't care. So another thing that happened this week, I was at another legislative hearing, huge, and we can talk about that if you want to. Massive things got exposed or talked about, and we could go into that if you want. But none
well,
of
we
that.
absolutely need to go into that because Maricopa County, the whole world's been watching on what's going down
Oh
in
my
Maricopa
gosh,
County. So it's
God is
I
really
feel
using our
blessed that
state.
you're able to bring the information to us firsthand from right there.
So the first thing I noticed when I went into committee, and it was a joint session, that means the House and the Senate are working together to have a hearing. And so they're bringing expert testimony to come in and talk about, and they're trying to educate the public. They're trying to educate themselves on election integrity issues. How can they fix the election system? So they bring all these experts in, and none of the Democrat colleagues, none showed up. If I was their constituent, I would be so upset with them. How come you don't want to get armed with the information that your Republican colleagues are getting armed with? How come you don't want to know the same information that your Republican colleagues want to know? That's party politics, and that irks me so much. It needs to leave. It needs to stop at the door, because now, as a state legislator, you've put that mantle on. You have a responsibility to people in your area. Not only if you're a D or you're an R, you don't just have the D's and the R's you represent, because there's a mix of D's and R's and I's in there, and they all need to be represented. And I know that's a big job, but somehow you figure that out, how you're going to do the best you can for the most amount of people you can. But you do a terrible job when you don't show up for committee. You do a terrible job when you vote no straight across the board on bills that would actually help your constituents, bills that support the Constitution and further protect the constitutional rights of your constituents. And you disregard and you spit in the face of your constituents when you don't even show up to an important hearing, a massive important hearing. You know who did show up? Adrian Fontes. I recognized him. I'm like, I know that man. Who is that man? He's the Secretary of State now, and he was the county recorder for Maricopa County, Democrat that won over Mark Fincham. I'm like, that man looks familiar. And then afterwards, I got to speak to one of my friends who's also a legislator, and he was like, yeah, that was Adrian Fontes. I'm like, no wonder why I recognized him. But he even showed up, okay? And he's a Democrat, and he showed up for part of the hearing. But yet his rest of his colleagues couldn't show up. So we had an explosive hearing, and this lady came up, and she said, and I want to caveat this. Her testimony still needs to be vetted. What she said still needs to be, don't take it as gospel truth. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's a lie. But you know what the people did for January 6th, and how they made all those people who showed up to protest and use their constitutional rights to go and petition the government for redress of grievances. And then all of a sudden, all those people got put away in prison, and the narrative spin that these people are this, that, and the other. I don't want our side to be that. I don't want our side to be like that. Our side has to be upright. That means we have to, everyone's innocent of proven guilty in our country, right? So she said all these things that could totally be true. It could be totally false, or could some be true, some be false. So there's three possibilities, and I don't know what the answer is, because I didn't see the evidence that she's seen. So that I just want to caveat that, where it could be true, it could be false, it could be a mixture. I don't know. Well, so the state legislator has to look at that further to find out.
And we have to understand that the paid opposition is just that, and they're out there in full force. Without a doubt. And we're going to hear more about this on my channel, because I had a real interesting hour-long conversation with the state director here in Colorado this week, and I was hanging on every word. Let me tell you, this woman is a wealth of information. She's a wealth of experience. She's a volunteer for this country. She spends 30 hours a week going to our state capitol, marching into the halls of Congress to go up there to oversee these bills and find out what's going on, and whether they should or should not be voted on, and if they are or are not in the best interest of the people. These are people that I want to showcase to the American public, because what she's going to bring to the table is a wealth of information that everyone can use in their state to go out and do exactly what she is doing, what you are doing, Amber. She's going through the same process you just went down in Arizona, and this is what needs to happen across this country. That's why I'm such a big new fan of restore-liberty.org and the Restore Liberty group, because this is what they're trying to do. It's going to take the people to take back this country. We know that. We know we're in World War III. We know why we can't get any resolve down in the certain cities and in some cases entire states. We know who the enemy is. We know that everybody's battling the various cartels. There's more than one,
Mm-hmm.
out there. These are
Mm-hmm.
very, very dangerous groups that are operating out there. I know it's easy for some podcasters to sit behind their camera and talk about these things like they're flippant.
Mm-hmm.
No, these are highly sophisticated organizations
Yes.
that take people countering them that have the expertise, the training, and the skill uh, to deal with these types of groups. And this stuff doesn't happen overnight because we're infiltrated by it. We know that this country is infiltrated at this
Mm-hmm.
point. We
Mm-hmm.
spent, there's thousands and thousands of videos, thousands of commentators out there in the alternative media putting all of this information out. That's why I say we're dealing with the very sophisticated, very intelligent American public at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when
Totally.
mainstream media has a big disconnect with the people now because the people are wise. They're very intelligent. They're very smart. They're very up to speed now. And what they're seeing come across their television sets inside of their living room doesn't balance out with what reality is and
Mm-hmm.
what we're seeing happen. And make no mistake, these things are not by accident. And, I fully sign on to what the general said um, in his analysis and his assessment. And, thank God we have great men of integrity like this out there trying to explain to people the reality of what's really going on. Because what's that saying? And I can't remember. Maybe somebody can help me out here. Who said this? But I recall one of the higher ups. I don't know if it was either Kissinger or uh, uh, Klaus Schwab or even the Rockefeller guy who said, when the people no longer believe anything that they hear, hello, current day and time, then our mission will then be complete. Okay, those are words that ring in the back of my head. Then our mission will be complete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we see that happening because we don't see any disclosure. We don't
Mm-hmm.
see any unsealing of any of these, 270,000 sealed indictments at this point
Mm-hmm.
going on. What we have seen, and I'll give credit for this, is we have seen a lot of corporate senior officials step down from their posts. Well, so what? They're gone. We all know what they were doing to start with. They're going because the financial system is dropping, and BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are all in trouble. So it's all out there now. Is my point. And will we ever really see any result? Well, we don't know, but we have to keep trying.
You have
And at
to.
this about unity, peace and unity, but more importantly about unity, because the American public has to be together on these things. Years, 4 years, I mean longer than that, but blatantly dividing the American people in
Mm-hmm.
whatever fashion that they put out there with all of this paid opposition. And now people are
Mm-hmm.
wise to it. So, it's been a long road as we all do what we do to make sure that we're getting out the information to the public that they can actually use to go out there in their own community and create change. So I'm
And
looking
so
forward to having
one of the easiest
Cynthia
ways.
on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, go ahead, Amber.
Well, one of the easiest ways, like I said, is go down the Capitol. You don't have to spend 30 hours a week, but go down there once in a while just to see how it works in government, because they on purpose keep us stupid about how does government work. It's all by design, because if we don't know how government works, we can't fight back. If we don't know what our constitutional rights are, we don't know they're being violated. So it's all by design, and it's so important that you get down there. How does a bill become a law? I mean, Schoolhouse Rock simplified it big time, but there's so much that goes on to it, and our legislators get paid very little money. And I'll tell you, they work a lot longer than their session being in session. When they're out of session is their time that they're writing bills, because they only have a certain amount of time period when session begins to introduce bills. And once that time passes, you can't introduce any more bills. So during the summertime is when they're working on introducing bills. They still have phone calls to take from constituents, emails to do from constituents. So they're still, because when I met with my state legislator to write my bill, it was over the summer, because I already knew that if I waited till January to work on this, it'd be too late and we'd have to introduce it next session. And so it was one of those situations where I never thought in 1,000 years I'd ever write a bill ever in my life. But when God brings people into your life and they tell you their story, it's almost like I could do nothing and life would go on as normal. Or I could say, here am I, God, send me. I could do that. And so that's what I did. Maybe I'm insane. I don't know. But it's been an educational experience. I'll tell you that. And so what I had to do is I had to call my state legislator and bring people together, people who had the stories that were telling me, so that he knew that there really was a legitimate problem that needed to be addressed. He's going to put his name on it, so he needs to know this is not just a made up thing. Like everyone needs to have vanilla ice cream on Sunday. Well, he needs to have proof of why everybody has to have vanilla ice cream on Sunday. And if I can't prove that, then why would he put his name? Because clearly you need to have a reason that solves a problem why everyone needs vanilla ice cream on Sunday. So I had to show him that there was a problem, and I brought evidence with me, and newspaper articles and people's personal testimonies and all that. And so then he also had his staff look into it, because all the state legislators, they have a research staff that they can depend on, which is great because they have such a big mantle and a lot of stuff on their plate that they need the help. And so they had their research stuff. I brought my research, and I was constantly sending them more articles. I'm like, here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. And then after you get your bill written, then you have to bring people together, and it's called stakeholders. Anyone who would have a stake, anyone who would be involved or affected by your bill. So the point of that is you're trying to see what would be the opposition in committee. Why would someone vote against my bill? And then you might want to tweak your bill a little bit just to get some more votes, but without destroying the idea and the part of your bill that's powerful. I mean, you don't want to destroy your bill to compromise, because that's no good. And you might even decide, I don't care. I'm not going to change my bill. This is my bill. I like it how it is. I don't care what they say, in this stakeholder setting. Maybe you don't agree with them. In this sitting, that's your choice. You could decide, am I changing it? Am I not? How can I make my arguments, present my arguments different? Because this is going to be a thing that comes in my way, and I have to work through that. Anyway, so you meet your stakeholders. And then you kind of become a little bit of a lobbyist yourself, because you need to kind of get the votes. You need to whip the votes for your bill. So you go to your state legislators and you start pitching your bill to them and say, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve with my bill, and this is how it's still constitutional. And so you tell them all about your bill. And then it goes, all the bills, once they get sent in, it gets assigned to a committee, one person who's in charge of a committee. So you have someone who's in charge, who's a committeeman, committeewoman, and then you have the vice chair, and those two are in charge. But the committee person is the main person, and they set the rules for the committee. They decide what bills get heard in committee, and not all bills make it to committee. So the fact that I got my bill through the threshold to get heard in committee was huge. And then people can request to speak, and you can request to speak without even having to go down to the Capitol. And I don't know if that's universal in every state, but I'm going to guess there's some kind of system in place where when you go to the legislator's website, you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, kind of like Facebook, a like and a dislike. And you could even write a comment about the bills, because I'll tell you what, the opposite side, anytime there's a good constitutional bill, the opposite side fills those requests to speak with a bunch of negative comments. And those legislators look at that.
Well, and I'll tell you, find out that definitely place emphasis on finding out how much time you have to speak. I've been before many county commissions and so forth, and specific boards. And when they say 2 minutes, they got somebody there with a timer. It goes on. It goes off, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all you have. And that's what I'd like to see lobby to be changed. I think that's just ridiculous. They're basically shutting people down and not letting people talk is what they're doing. And half the time, as soon as the public gets up to make their comments, that's when they decide that they have to take a break, in the back room. And you'll see certain board members get up and walk out and come in. This is a disrespect that these people show the general public, and a lot of people are experiencing this and seeing this out there too. But nonetheless, we have to keep persevering and moving forward in that regard. And like I said, I don't know a lot about that end of the process because, like I said, we never thought that we'd ever really have to go up to Capitol Hill. In my mind, as a regular citizen, uh, I thought
Mm-hmm.
somebody, I didn't know who did it. I guess I didn't think whose job is it? Who does it actually? And now we're finding out nobody's doing it.
Nobody's doing
It's
it.
up,
Yep.
yeah, it's up to we the people. So I'm looking forward to that education. Cynthia from Restored Liberty is going to lay it out for us. I'm
Oh,
going to
that's
have her
great.
do it in a series, and she's going to tell us firsthand. I mean, she spends 30 hours a week of her own time going straight up to the Capitol, walking her talk, and
Mm-hmm.
going into these hearing rooms, and we're going to see how it's done. That's all we can do is learn the process.
I'm
Um,
excited for that because I want to know if her experience is similar to my experience because that'd be fascinating to watch. I'd like to see that.
Right. And she'll even put you in charge with your state director down there in Arizona. I told you I like to keep track of what's going on that plane. And also, there's certain groups, and we'll segue into other things and other people since we're just kind of chit chatting here. But, you keep track too. I think you said I like to watch what Cash Patel, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, Dan Scavino, and crew, and all those guys. What they're up to for the week. Do we have any updates on them this week? I couldn't tell you. I've been so busy.
I've been so busy too
Anybody
because
know?
I've been a lot at the Capitol. So I don't. I don't. I guess it's good. You know what?
Well,
That means that local action creates national impact, right? So the fact that you and I were too busy to watch what they are doing is great because that means we're doing stuff here locally that is going to make a bigger impact nationally.
well, hallelujah. You got that
Mm-hmm.
right. And then of course we all know we watched the military guys, and I'll tell you what, on that front, I do want to share a couple of things. Outside of the retired generals and colonels, and boy, what a blessing that was to have both those gentlemen on our panel last week. It was just awesome to hear firsthand from people who actually have experience what to kind of look for. And I like hearing from people like that because they don't come with all the hysteria that
Mm-hmm.
some of these people come with in trying to create all this fear porn for the American public and the American people. But I do think actions speak louder than words. I'm not talking about the retired people. I'm talking about our Secretary of Defense. And let's just look at what he's been up to this week since we're kind of recapping the week. He had a call with the Israeli Minister of Defense. I think if you pronounce it Yoav Gallant, I guess is how you pronounce it. Uh, but here's what's happening with him. He spoke with him on February 24th. He encouraged the de escalation of tensions in the West Bank following a military raid this week that resulted in civilian casualties. Secretary Austin underscored his steadfast commitment to Israel's security and to Israel's right to defend its citizens from terrorism. Uh, and then they also talked about regional security issues. So now here he's in conversations with Israel. And, Israel, 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 that keeps coming up for a lot of people.
Liberty Cowgirl, can
Chime
I
in,
speak
Amber.
to that? I have family in Israel, and I will tell you
Yes.
something that was new to me, new information to me. The cartel is also involved in Israel, just so you know, because that was a little bit of a shock to me. But the cartel is hard at work in Israel as well. I thought that was
Right. And these
Definitely.
cartels are all over the world. These are
Mm-hmm.
worldwide networks.
Mm-hmm.
People want to come in and they say, why don't the military just take everybody? These are huge criminal network empires,
Yep.
beyond anybody's comprehension, out there. So, this is why I always say, God bless, uh, people known and unknown, that are fighting the battle right now,
Mm-hmm.
because
That's
there's a
right.
lot that we don't know and a lot that we'll never know.
That's right.
But back to Austin, and again, firsthand, this is what we get from alternative media, firsthand information. We're able to double check these things, with all these citizen journalists all over the world, and that are reporting on things all over the world, which the mainstream media, uh, is not. Uh, but he's also out there, and of course, he's continuing his resolute, support of Ukraine, uh, because of the anniversary. But he's hold on one moment here. Allies have already committed more than 20 billion, with a B, in security assistance to Ukraine,
Sure.
including hundreds of tanks, thousands of other armored vehicles, vital air defense system, hundreds of artillery systems, and other crucial capabilities. Okay, let me tell you something right now. People got to stand up and say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
The money in itself, I think we discussed this, on the last show, that's been given to that country is outrageous. People
Mm-hmm.
have had enough now. Stop arming the enemy, and we're not talking about the wonderful people that are over there suffering at the hands of that regime. If anybody was tuned in to what the general was talking about last week, and they heard what he said, it very well could be that as people, whether it's here, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's anywhere, that we're the only good ones. It could be bad people fighting bad people, and people
Uh-huh.
have to wrap their head around that. So, I that didn't go missed on me, uh, when he said that. And of course, we'll never know. We only know what experienced people are saying based upon their analysis and their experience. Time will tell.
Well,
Uh,
I also know the United States have armed the cartel with weapons, the Fast and the Furious. How about Afghanistan? We don't know if they're arming anyone in Ukraine. At least I don't know. I don't have that intel. Could they be giving the bad guys some armory, massive armory? Yeah, that's a possibility. We already know they launder money through Ukraine. They launder money through the cartel. This is nothing new for people. So the general could be totally right. Bad people fighting bad people, and to me, that's okay with me if they're fighting each other and they're both bad. I mean, but it's terrible, and this is why you and I have to get involved and go down to the state. We can't go down to Washington every day. We can't, but we can go down to the state legislator and start making a change there locally, because eventually that will trickle to Washington. We could make
right,
appointments with our congressmen. We can do that, but we need to hold these people accountable, and you can't go get them accountable unless you see them face to face and say, how come you didn't make it to committee meeting? How come your colleagues all made it to committee, but you decided not to make it to committee? So you decided not to hear the testimony that your colleagues were hearing. I mean, until we start giving them making them answer for their misappropriation of the place that they were seated in government, until we do that, then nothing's going to change. How come you voted against that? That was a really good bill that was going to protect our rights and that was going to secure our constitutional rights. Why did you vote no on that? Oh, you don't have an answer? Oh, because it was party politics? Then drop that at the door. Until we get in there and be polite about it. I mean, I'm just frustrated, and you're hearing my frustration because of what I've seen firsthand. I mean, obviously, when you're going to talk to them, you're going to be more polite than that, but the point will be given across. And until we do that, we're not going to see change in our country. I mean, I wish we all would have learned from California and Colorado. But now Arizona is on the brink of falling, and we didn't know because none of us got involved. We didn't see it coming. It's been planned for years for them to take Arizona. And now we're on the brink of failure. And now I understand what happened to California and Colorado. And once you go California, Colorado, Power Girl, isn't it really hard to come back from it? Not impossible. Isn't it really
Well,
hard?
and I can tell you what, and this is why I'm glad we have a collaboration going here, because we do have Colorado, Arizona, and California, and we're
Oh,
able
that's
to
right.
kind of bring up on the forefront here of everything that's going on, because, let's face it, some of these blue states are not blue.
Right.
And, I will be over dramatic in saying this, it's called captured operation.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it's called. We're in wartime, and I know people don't want to hear that. But look at your judiciary, look at your sheriffs, look at your attorney generals, look at your secretary of states, look at your election officials. It's going on all around us.
Uh-huh.
All around us. So, I hope something happens soon. But, in the midst of all of this going on, one last thing, again, I'm looking at press releases from the Department of Defense here this week, because we didn't get a chance to look at any of them. We've been so busy. But they had a meeting, and they were outlining strategies, and they released a nuclear posture review. Now, they actually released this review back in October 27th, I believe, of this past year. But they're meeting about it now because, and again, I just skimmed the press release here. I don't want to go through the whole thing. But again, all this military positioning around the world, their concern is the double CP, China. Everybody knows what faction that is. And this is not news. They've bought up a lot of the land. They've bought land next to military installations.
Yes.
They've been allowed to do this. They've been allowed to do this because of corrupt local officials allowing them to do it. Okay, again, the system. And they're now in control of most of our farmland over here. In addition to that, we know from Colonel Sellen and others who's been following this, and now Colonel Gobb, that they've been spying on us through our universities.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these scientists and these exchange student programs.
Mm-hmm.
And, people wonder, how did this happen in front of our eyes? Well, it happened covertly. It didn't happen in front of our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when people say it's our fault. It's our fault. It's not our fault. We didn't see this happening. But shame on the people who did. Shame on the people who were part of it. They need to be held accountable too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all out there. It's coming out in the open now. And, hopefully it'll all come out sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep tracking it. We're going to keep tracking what everybody's doing. Again, we're all on information overload right now. And, most of us are busy trying to produce great shows on the backside of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tough to keep up with this literal barrage of information that's coming at us on the daily. I can't tell you, my email box is full on the daily with just press releases coming from here, there, and everywhere. And, sometimes I want to get on and report right then and there of everything that's on it. But then it's old news 24 hours later. It's on to something else. So, I want to stay laser focused. I think that laser focus is what we're all doing here. A, finding out what the process is. B, getting to the airwaves and getting people motivated to get out there to actually get involved in the process. And C, getting out proper information, not misinformation and disinformation.
I will tell you this, Liberty Cowgirl, it has been fun. going down there, learning the process to the state legislator, getting to know your state legislators. It's been kind of fun in a way. It's sometimes it's a little bit boring because it goes long, but you get armed with a lot of information, and it's been kind of fun to be on the back end and see how things work in government.
Right. Well, why don't we go around and give our kind of final thoughts? We'll cut this one shorter. We did an extra long one last week. That was great. And, we'll just all keep rocking and rolling. We're going to keep following it. We're going to keep reporting on it. And we're going to keep bringing great people to the table. I'm looking forward on my show to have some people from the Colorado legislature on so they can speak firsthand. I like going straight to the source. Listen,
Yes.
there's nothing more powerful than going straight to the source.
I agree.
When it comes to these type of things, so people can see firsthand. But what say you, Power Girl?
Got me right in the mid swig. I say I'm on board. Let's keep chugging away, chugga chugga.
Power Girl, what's coming up on your show?
Well, we got Supernatural Sunday coming up tomorrow. That should be fun. And I'm trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. We've got some amazing Kingdom Warriors, and I would love to see if they're willing to share a little bit of their personal story. We have some amazing prophetic dreams between the three of us. Cool. And so last week was really dark. We were talking about Geordie Rose and CERN and all of those things. So this week we want to get a little bit lighter. I don't want to do all dark stuff.
Right.
But we definitely are trying to talk about the supernatural nature of this war that, so little people are really talking about it. And we're putting a really fine point on it. A lot of people like to talk about the sensation of it, but not really what to do about it. So that's what we're trying to do. I've got some really powerful people that I have gathered over the last year that God has brought to me that just really are speaking Holy Spirit fire. So that's what we're doing on Supernatural Sunday. And that's...
You might be interested in the new movie Pastor Greg Locke is coming out with called Come Out in Jesus' Name. It's about exorcisms and deliverance. So you might be interested in that movie.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm. So on my show coming up, I should have pulled up my calendar. I know I have Jason Jones from Border 911 coming down. He's retired DPS that is at the border. So he's coming up this week. What else do I have? I have Pastor Jackson Lawmeyer coming on. He is Pastors for Trump, and we'll learn about that. What else do I have? I'm excited. Our friend LW is coming on the program this week. I have a really good program coming on with Dr. John Diamond, and he talks about petitioning the kingdom. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, it's very inspirational on when our natural power fails, where can we go and petition? And so we talk about that on the show coming up. And you can find me at theamberbayshow.com. You can find me on Rumble, Frank Speech, True Social, Brighty on BitChute. So like, share, and subscribe. And do the same for Power Girl. So Liberty Cowgirl, what's coming up on your program?
Well, I'm having my state director come on this week, and so we'll have her on. We might get on to do an info source, but I'm only putting two shows a week up personally myself because I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes right now, and I've got other responsibilities and obligations. But that's why I'm going out of my way to really bring information to the table. There's a lot of talk about a lot of things out there right now, but again, I want to walk my talk. I want to stay laser focused, and we're going to keep our eye on how we actually make the change happen. Everybody can, we're almost up against the hour right now. Everybody can continue to follow my shows, Liberty Cowgirl Network on YouTube. We're going to be doing more live exclusive Rumble shows, so we don't have any censorship. And we're looking forward to that. And we're going to have more roundtables, and we're definitely going to have an upcoming episode of the Liberty Lounge to induct a few more people onto the Unity train.
I love it.
So
Power Girl didn't tell us where to find her show. Is it on Rumble?
Yes, it is on Rumble. Yes, Power Girl Power Hour on Rumble. Both shows, Freedom Friday and Supernatural Sunday, are on that channel.
Cool.
awesome.
I love the Unity Train at Liberty Cowgirl. Thank you so much for including me on your Liberty Train. I really appreciate you doing that. It makes me feel so special. Thank you.
Listen, I tell everybody, you ready for peace and unity? Hop on the train, honey, because it's going to be a great ride to freedom. And, again, I started on that train. I'm going to stay on that path. And, there's always going to be twists and turns. But for the most part, listen, we're having great success. So many people want the same thing. We don't all have to agree on everything, the fundamentals of every little thing out there.
Right.
But peace and unity is something that we can all come together on. So
yes.
Looking forward to it. I want to thank both of you ladies for coming out for the chit chat tonight. And I look forward to seeing both y'all this week. And, like they say, Power Girl, what's the saying? When you sit down with warriors,
The
it's
conversation is different.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see y'all on the next one.
All right.